is I'm already working as a secretary for Horsepower Music Engineering. I've actually worked as a secretary in the past. I've done planning, organizing, all that stuff, getting documents ready to go for people, handed out. And I've actually set up some very documents. So
Okay.
talk about it.
So,
I've experienced that as a secretary.
okay, so everyone in favor of April? I'm just going down the list. Everybody? Yeah.
Turn around, April.
Okay.
Face the wall.
Everybody in favor of April as secretary, raise your hand.
Didn't you already win a position?
She even forgot this is Swift.
This is, okay, everybody in favor as of Jeff? Raise your hand. We're tied exactly.
Awesome.
Alright, something
Tiebreaker. Tiebreaker, please.
Okay.
So just vote again and see if it's
I would vote for the person who doesn't have.
Before graduating, get one vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Two for event.
we're gonna take the count again, because so turn around again, guys. So think carefully about who you want to vote for. Please don't vote twice, because that's confusing. Okay. So everyone in favor of April, raise your hand. Okay. Everybody in favor of Jeff, raise your hand.
I'm gonna put this
That's Brian.
Holy, you voted twice. I said not to do that. So April gets secretary. So now we're gonna do webmaster. So we can have 3 webmasters. So I'm just gonna take the 3 highest counts. And basically one person is gonna get. One person is going to be lead webmaster, and then the other 2 are going to be co-webmasters. So first we're going to vote for lead webmaster, and then the 2 co-webmasters.
Can I just vote for co-webmaster?
So, sure. So, so 0 and 3. 0, go first.
Alright, so first off, I'm wearing a really funny shirt. And,
Well, look, look, he's trying to, look, it just doesn't work.
Terrible.
okay, no, but seriously, I
should feel bad.
was on the CCDC team this year. We do, I was a Linux guy. We do Linux security stuff and our web servers and our web servers running on the Linux server. So, at least I have some basic knowledge of how to, secure that and make it run and update things and upgrade things and, manage a web server.
Hey guys, my name's Suri. I'm running for webmaster because this is what I do at work all day, and I started doing web design like in high school freshman year. So I have experience with HTML, CSS, PHP, using content management systems like WordPress, which is what our site is with this team, and also Joomla and Drupal. And I've also been on CCDC, and I've done that when I was at the JV. So I can actually show you some of the work that I have on this screen here.
Very dominated.
30 seconds. Ouch.
Tell me what WordPress modules you're running, and I'll let you know if you're good or not.
Well, this isn't on WordPress. This is just using JavaScript, jQuery.
JavaScript.
Well, this
Okay, well, we are short on time. So we're going to go ahead and so 0 and 3 are the ones running for head webmaster. So you guys should turn around.
That's okay.
You resigned.
Okay, so everyone who votes for 0, raise your hand. That's nice. Everybody who votes for 3, raise your hand. Suri is head webmaster. So,
Voter fraud.
now for the two co-webmasters, you can't, that's what I'm going.
Yeah, there's gonna be two of them. There's 3 people.
So, Liz, you still running for co-webmaster?
Yeah, I'm running.
Okay, so, go ahead and say why you should be co-webmaster.
Alright, I had experience working with a magazine, doing little articles, so I can do posts on the site. I can work WordPress. I use it on my own sites, and in general, I'm pretty good at keeping stuff up to date. So hopefully, we'll actually have posts if I'm one of the co-webmasters. Then that's what you should put.
And then Ryan is actually one of our current webmasters. So he already has all the access, he knows how to do stuff, and but he's just not here today because I'm speaking.
He's out updating the website right now.
Yeah, probably. So,
Pretty sure.
I will be his stand-in when we vote, I guess. No, okay, that doesn't work. I can't turn around. But anyway,
I will turn him around.
He's not facing this.
Ryan already does it, so keep that in mind when you're voting. So we're going to go ahead and vote very quickly for the 3. So 0 and Swiss, turn around.
Do we get to vote twice then? Because we're voting for 2 of the masters?
Sure, you get to vote twice,
Cool.
but not 3. Only twice. 3.
I vote 3 times.
Okay. If you're voting for 0, raise your hand. Okay, if you're voting for Swiss, raise your hand. All right, if you're voting for Ryan, raise your hand.
I paid my dues.
Okay, so Ryan and Swiss tied. So
Deathmatch.
we are gonna have 3 co-webmasters.
Yay!
Hey, more articles.
Give me 2
No, I mean 3.
You have a Coco with and Ryan,
Yeah.
and then Sweet.
They all tied?
No, 0.
0 clearly won,
Oh.
but then the other 2 tied, and I don't really feel like dealing with it. So now we're gonna do treasure. So the way the treasure works is that there's a treasurer and then there's a co-treasurer. So
I'm graduating.
who wants? Hey, listen up, guys.
Run for position.
Listen up. Who is of that list is running for primary treasurer? Raise your hand. JT? Really?
Yes, Jason.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Charles, being uncontested. No. Okay. So if you guys could come out and speak to the crowd and tell us why you should have the position of treasurer. Charles, go first.
Organized, responsible, unlikely to embezzle money. Likely to
It does. She does have enormous amounts of free time. JT.
Alright, so I have to admit that he's a robot experience with treasure outside of some high school stint. But regardless, I handle my own money responsibly, but beyond that, since it is the close money, it is not my own money, and I feel personally responsible for that even more so than my own well-being. So that's why I think I can be treasurer.
Yeah, and he's a robot.
So what I'm hearing is that JT's gonna throw himself under a bus. He will defend his life, yeah.
He's a robot, so he'll survive.
It's true. Okay, so briefly, if the 2 of you can turn around, if you are voting for Charles, raise your hand. Please don't be indecisive, I have to count.
Would you say, if you want Charles?
The android is JT.
All right, and then now we're voting for JT, raise your hand.
Robot.
JT wins. Okay, so now we're gonna do co-treasurer. Holy crap. That is a lot of names that are up there on that.
We're really starting.
Eliminate the people who already have positions.
Okay, that's a good point,
Yeah, exactly.
which is 1.
Zero.
Yeah.
It's one of them, which is 0.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, Justin, Charles, and
I'll be
Delaney.
co-treasurer anyway.
So, Justin,
Yeah.
I'm Justin. I just mainly want to help out with Swift, be a part of it. It doesn't matter if I go for vice president or treasurer.
okay. Charles, you already did yours, and then Delaney.
All right, I want to go for treasurer because, kind of like Justin said, I just am interested in being part of the club, and I'm interested in working with money, so that's why treasurer is kind of there. And I'm very organized, and I'm prompt, and if it's like JT said, if it's someone else's money, it's definitely higher responsibility because someone else did it.
Okay. So, three, turn around, please. Very briefly, everyone voting for Justin, raise your hand. All right.
Did you count me?
Yes.
But you're zero.
If it's all okay. Everybody voting for Charles, raise your hand. Okay. Everyone voting for Delaney, raise your hand. You guys are totally not helpful. Okay, so Justin and Charles tied, and Delaney was only one underneath that. So we're gonna re-vote on Justin and Charles.
Three co-treasurers.
No. Okay, so we're gonna retake the vote. Please only vote once. You guys ready?
Yeah.
So first we're gonna vote for Justin. Please raise your hand.
You have to turn around.
Yeah.
Why?
Vote for Justin.
Oh, you're telling us to vote for him?
I got you, Zero. Thank you. Okay, voting for Charles, please raise your hand. Okay, Charles is co-treasurer. Now we're gonna do fundraising. There is no contest here.
No contest.
Put Justin on there.
Okay.
This is where we all stand around looking at this and clap. No contest.
No voting, let's move on.
Okay.
You guys trying to make this take extra long?
Yeah. So
Can I just erase
this is basically the whole meeting time.
If you wrote
Sorry.
it there, you can.
Okay, guys. So hey, listen up. So we're gonna do fundraising now. So okay, take our fundraising first.
No, let him on.
And so it's uncontested. So congrats, Jeff. You and Alejandro are fundraising. He's at work. He can't make it ever. So now we're gonna do marketing.
IRC.
So for marketing,
Chat. It's how we all talk about it.
we have Swiss and Alejandro. Alejandro is currently the one who does it, so he's the one who puts up all the flyers. He maintains the Facebook page already.
And the Twitter.
And the Twitter.
I'll come up with some stuff and I'll shoot you away. Facebook, yeah.
Okay. End of story. Now we're gonna do vice president. What about Bot Wars?
What's that?
Botwars.
We don't have enough time.
I think the issue is
Bot Wars can be an honorary member. So now we're gonna do vice president. So starting with Crizzle, since he's first on the list, why should you be vice president?
What's up, everybody? I'm Chris Wills. I was your guys' treasurer for this year. For those of you who don't know, I pretty much got involved with Swift like my first year at Cal Poly, and I really like it. I work closely with Zach, who is our current president, to kind of organize the events that we have and get all the meetings figured out. So I just want to run for you guys as vice president so I can further contribute to the club. And yeah.
And Justin?
I just want to be a contribution to the club, help plan events, help get everything organized. Chris is a good guy, so if you vote for him, awesome. If you vote for me, awesomer. Yes, more awesomer. There you go. Thank you.
More awesomer. That's perhaps the best thing I've heard all day. Okay, let me. While you're not looking, who already got the positions.
Sure. I just realized.
Oh.
All right, everybody. So, if you're voting for Crizzles, raise your hand.
Oh.
All right, if you're voting for Prometheus, raise your hand. Okay, Crizzles is vice president. Okay, and so nobody else wants to run for president, huh? Nobody. We love you. Well, thank you guys. I'm so sorry when I have a nervous breakdown. I just want to throw that out there.
You're stuck here trying to get out.
Yeah. Okay, so guys,
We killed him last quarter.
real quick, we're gonna power through what John has for us. So we're gonna try to go a little bit late today. So what that means is when we're done, I need everyone to clear out as fast as possible. So he's gonna go to 12:50, so he has 20 minutes. At 12:50, everyone needs to be gone.
At 12:50, run away.
Very briefly, announcements. One is that they're still looking for a videographer for the Land Fest that's being held in June. Okay, talk to me. But the other thing is this Friday is Red Team Workshop. We're going to actually try to do it this time and not fail. So,
I can't control, you suck. What day is it?
and so, please RSVP. We only have 10 slots, so it's very critical that you do that right away. So please RSVP for Red Team Workshop. All right, let's go. Let's get started. You ready? Yeah. Yeah.
Howdy, everybody. I'm Chase. It's my first year with Swift, but my last year here at Cal Poly. I'm graduating in June. So I'm just going to run through some stuff about virtualization. We're going to then focus in on VMware ESXi, and then I'm going to finish off with a little bit of talk about how you can actually make a virtual firewall, so you don't actually have to run multiple computers at one location. You can have an ESXi box with all your servers on it and your firewall. So here's what I'm going to talk about, just in brief: virtualization basics, ESXi, these different things, and the virtual FreeBSD firewall I built with PF. So broad sense, virtualization, creation of virtual resources rather than something physical. So this takes a lot of different forms. We've got desktop virtualization becoming very popular in a lot of enterprises now, where you just have a thin client and you're going to be pushing copies of a VM to the client, or having the client retrieve that from a centralized set of servers. OS virtualization, a lot of you are probably familiar with this if you're using any of the VPS services on the internet. FreeBSD jails, OpenVZ, that's all in this category. Software virtualization is something that's also big in the enterprise right now. VMware ThinApp, I see a lot of that. Citrix XenApp is pretty popular. Microsoft is just in the space as well with their application virtualization. Memory virtualization, I've never seen this, but I've heard it's possible where you have memory on a network that's aggregated for a bunch of different systems, and all the systems can talk to that memory. Like I said, I've never seen it, but I've done it pretty cool. Storage virtualization, this is actually something I've worked with. If you're ever using iSCSI or Fibre Channel SAN, that's what storage virtualization is. ESXi can use either of those, and you can hook into a disk array over your network. So if you ever get to the point where you want to throw up a NAS, like FreeNAS or something like that, and fire up an iSCSI server, you can actually connect FreeBSD to that iSCSI server native. And NFS is most distributed file system, of course you guys have seen this, NFS, Apple File Sharing Protocol, server message blocking with the Windows file sharing stuff, network virtualization, VLANs, we all know about that. So this is what, hardware virtualization is what ESXi is. It's where you're actually presenting the guest with a completely virtualized set of hardware. They can't tell the difference between the physical hardware versus this stuff in most cases. So ESXi is with a hypervisor, and it allows you to spin off a bunch of different virtual machines off of that. It presents each machine with the virtualized hardware. Reasons to virtualize, obviously, you can take a whole bunch of physical servers and reduce them down to one. The technology's gotten so powerful now, I've seen servers that are like four CPUs, 8 cores, hyper-threaded, so there's like 128 processors represented to VMware. Now, VMware requires licensing for that, so you need to take that into account when you're doing this. But the idea is that you can save a lot of money if you reduce your footprint, not having to maintain all the servers, and also there's a big cost and savings in power because you're not having to run an army of servers anymore. You can run 1 or 2. Virtual machines can be moved from one virtual server to another one pretty easily. That makes doing migrations a lot faster. If you have a virtual server that fails, you might have another virtual server as a backup so you can quickly bring your VMs back to life. Thin provisioning is really cool too. Basically, it saves you a lot of disk space so that every guest operating system is only using the amount of resources on disk that it actually needs. So if you allocate 40 gigs, but the system's only using 10, only 10 gigs will go on disk. So if you're going to be going and getting a VMware server, which I did, I'm going to show you the server I got on the next slide. The place you want to start is right here at the HCL, the hardware compatibility list. The hardware compatibility list lets you go through and kind of select what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for ESXi5, you can put that in there and see all the different servers that are available to you. Or maybe you're looking at a particular server and you want to make sure that it's supported by VMware. You can do that through here as well. So that's the place to start. So in my project, what I was doing was I have like 2 servers that I'm running all the time at home, a firewall and an AD box that I was using for Active Directory on my network and some other stuff, file sharing and things like that. And I wanted more, and I was needing more for like some lab work that I was doing to set up like target machines for some red team stuff and whatnot. And when my wife gets the power bill every month, she comes and looks at me and says, "Why is our power bill so high?" And she like points to my computers in the closet. So I can't add more. So this was a solution for me. This was my birthday present this year. I was granted money to go and purchase this. And I hunted around for a while trying to find the right one, and I stumbled across this one. And the HCL didn't actually have this server on it. But what I found out is I looked at the motherboard and the CPU, it matched up with the HCL. So I bought it and it worked. So it's 2 CPUs, quad core each, 16 gigs of RAM, $300, pretty good deal. If you guys are looking to set up a lab, this is a good place to start. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the installation real quick. I'm going to try to blast through this. There's a lot here. So the first thing you're going to do is download vSphere from VMware. It's free. The vSphere is ESXi5. You go on the VMware site, you can find that. And you're going to burn it to a disk or a flash drive. And you're going to boot your server off of that. You can install the VMware to a disk on the system, which is what I wound up doing. Or you can put it on another medium like a flash drive, something like that. Once you're done with that, you're going to set the root user password, you're going to reboot the server, and you're going to configure your network. So once you slam in the media, whichever one you pick, this is the first screen you're presented to when it boots, is the installation screen. And of course, it's referencing the HCL, which we already talked about. And then you're going to see what medium you want to install to. That's right there where you select it. I'm selecting the disk in this case. Now, if you don't have the virtual extensions in your hardware and your CPU, you're going to see a message like this. Now, don't freak out when you see this. This just might mean that you don't have it turned on in the BIOS, which you want to just jump in the BIOS and turn that on real quick. No big deal. This is this. Once you actually get ESXi installed, rebooted, you're going to log in with I can't remember if it's just a blank password, if there's a temp password to use, but you log in, you're going to set your root password, you're going to configure your networking, and then once you do that, this is in the networking screen still, yeah, where you're setting the networking. Okay, once you get it set, you're going to be presented with the IP that you've got it on, and then you log into that, you open a web browser and you connect to that address, and you're going to see this web server that's running on the screen. It's going to have the download for the vSphere client. Once you get the vSphere client installed, you can do all the other features you want to set are done through that. Nothing is really done through the console other than a basic setup to get you access in with the vSphere client itself. So one of the ways that I set my VMs up is I set them all up in different VLANs depending on the level of security that I want. Like I might have servers that are internet-facing servers that I don't want on my network, on my main LAN, or next to servers that maybe have like credit card information on. I'm not doing that at home, but I'm trying to kind of replicate that scenario at my house just for training purposes and whatnot. So you're going to take your servers and split them up into different VLANs, and then the VLANs themselves, when they want to talk to another server, they have to go through a firewall. So you can do packet filtering, and you can do IDS and other things like that to make sure that the traffic going between the different VLANs is secure. Okay, so the initial setup, once you get it set up, this is my machine at home. I've got my firewall, called it Edge Crusher, and I've got 2 domain controllers, Linchpin and Oxidizer. I name all my servers after Fear Factory songs, so that's where those names come from. In the networking setup here, you're going to see that we have 2 NICs. On that first NIC there, that's the outside of the firewall. That's what I plug into the ISP. The internal NIC, the second NIC, that's where all my LAN stuff is. So all my different VLANs are set up on there. And if you notice, you see Edge Crusher in every single one of those. Edge Crusher is my firewall. So that's how these guys are going to talk to each other. They're going to talk through that guy. So once you're using the vSphere client, you actually want to and you install a machine. I haven't gone through the process of installing a machine. It's relatively easy. Since I didn't have a lot of time, I didn't really want to get into it. But if you start using VMware, it's pretty intuitive to actually get that installed. I hadn't used VMware probably until like the summer, and I got this all figured out pretty quick. The console, you're going to have the console access through the vSphere client. You're going to click on your server, you're going to click on console, now you've got console access like you're sitting there in front of the keyboard and monitor. Okay, so the firewall, it's FreeBSD 9. Like I said, I set up NICs on every VLAN I wanted to talk to each other and to get on the internet. And you can add new NICs pretty easy. You just drop into the config on the client. If you go to, you right click on the host, you go to edit, and you can just add a new NIC. It does require a reboot of the FreeBSD server itself, of the FreeBSD firewall, and then after that, your NIC is present. So if you want to spin off new VLANs, it's relatively easy. Okay, so I use PF. PF is pretty cool. It's got a lot of different features in it. You can use lists and macros and things that allow you to make rules a lot easier. Instead of having a line for every single rule for different hosts, you can have one line and put your hosts inside of a list. So you don't have to make 10 rules, something like that. It's also got NAT redirections, pretty common for packet filters. It's got packet queuing and prioritization. This is one of the reasons I kind of gravitated towards PF, is because if you're doing like VoIP and you need to make sure that your VoIP phones are guaranteed a certain amount of bandwidth, you can do it with PF. So that you can say that the rest of the network gets 80%, but I need to make sure that 20% is reserved for my VoIP phones. So if some guy comes on your network and starts doing BitTorrent stuff, he's not going to use more than 80% of the network and your phones are still going to work. You can also do prioritization with, I think it's 802.1q packet prioritization, where you tag the packets and then the firewall will see that those are supposed to be sent out faster and it's going to prioritize those. It's got load balancing capabilities. It's got the ability to do it's off PF, where you actually establish an SSH session and that loads up a set of rules for that user. It's applied to him while he's connected, and once he disconnects, that goes away. So people I've seen doing this do it on like Wi-Fi networks, kind of akin to a, I can't remember the 802.1x. Radius? Oh, yeah, alternative to that. Firewall redundancy, you can make 2 firewalls, and if one fails, it'll automatically switch over to the other one. All the states are there, so that's done with CARP and PF sync. I've never done that. I've seen it's possible. Maybe in the future, if I'm going to set up a second ESXi box, I'll do something like that. TCP SIM proxy, which is pretty cool. Basically, that's an anti-DDoS mechanism. So if someone's trying to do a SYN flood against you, what SIM proxy does is it accepts the first SYN packet, and until it sees and it sends back the SYN ACK, until it sees the completed ACK come back to build the session, it doesn't actually forward anything into the client. So it kind of shields the client from a SYN flood. It has OS fingerprinting. This is pretty experimental. I haven't worked with this. So the idea behind this would be like, if you're on a network and you don't like Windows, you can say, don't allow any Windows machine to connect to this server. Logging, you can do local logging to files. They make a pseudo interface for you called pflog0, where you can do a TCP dump directly against the log interface, and it'll show you what rules are hitting. Like if you put a rule in ESX in PF for the rule to log, it'll actually put a copy of the packet that you can look at, open it up with all the features in TCP dump, and see it. So maybe you can do some troubleshooting to find out why your rules may be not working and what you need to do to tune your rules for them to function correctly. And lastly, you do syslog with PF. Setting PF is pretty easy. In the rc.conf, you add these 3 lines to reboot. And then you have to make a etcpf.conf, which here's just a sample. This is the sample that comes with PF on FreeBSD. I just dumped that out so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. Now this is doing a TCP dump against the PF log interface, so you can actually capture the packets. The packets are numbered, so if you notice where it says rule 2, that corresponds with rule 2 in your packet filter, which you can find with some of these commands here. But this is reloading, like if you make a change to PF where you're adding a rule 2, pass in port 80 to a new web server you set up, you'd be making those changes in pf.conf and then reloading the file with these commands. Now these here will display the rules. pfctl minus savv will actually display all the rules, all the different rules you have, the tables, the queues, the packet filter rules, and your NAT rules. Conclusion, virtualization is cool, you should do it. Virtualizing firewalls is possible. Snort with active response. These are the things I got left to do. I'm trying to make a full-fledged UTM. If you guys aren't familiar with UTM, it's a unified threat management. It's kind of like meant to be a kind of a cure-all for your network, all your security things. Not necessarily a silver bullet, but it does make a big, have a big bonus. So I want to do Snort with active response and Snort SAM. Active response actually, when it sees a hit in Snort, sends a reset packet both ways to kill the conversation. And a Snort SAM will actually write a rule to the packet filter to block that IP from everything. And I want to do SQUID with SQUID ClamAV, which will do antivirus against your web traffic. So if it sees an antivirus coming in over the web, over at port 80, it'll block that. And I need to get OpenVPN working. So here's all my references. If I have time, you do actually load these.
Only a few minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Okay, so no, just real quick.
That will be your.
Let me see here. PF, CTL, SR. So these are all my rules on my firewall.
Memorizes people.
So you can see that there's a number. The number actually corresponds to the block, or to the rule. So you can see that 2 is block, return, log all. I'm not quite sure if that's the way I want it. I think I want it to drop, not return, because the return I think is supposed to say return packets. I was trying to do a block drop in, log all at the top there, right above that, and it seems to skip it, so I need to do some tuning on that. But this is how you can see what your rule numbers are. And if you want to see your NAT rules, you just change this R here to an N, and this dumps out your NAT rules. Let's see. Okay, so TCP dump. So, yeah, okay, we're seeing some stuff come through. I'm on Charter's network, and I see a lot of crap coming through my external interface a lot, like ARP requests and DHCP stuff all the time. So some of that may be Charter, that's going to be some of the inbound stuff. The other stuff is Windows trying to be Windows and connect to NetLab stuff. So that's how you see blocks. This is really handy in troubleshooting. If you're trying to get something to connect to the internet and you're thinking your packet filter is the problem, as long as you're logging your blocks, it's going to show up here and you can take action to put a rule in place that's going to fix this. And I don't see a lot of packet filters that do that. I know IPF does it. Does IP tables do that?
Yeah, totally.
You can do this?
You can log the graph that it says.
You can actually see the packets and what rule they triggered on and all that? I thought that the way you were doing it was just like looking at the stats. And
Well, what you do is you make a matching rule with the log.
Okay.
And so then you would know if it hits the log or if it's also hitting the drop code.
Can you do a pseudo interface, like do a pseudo?
Fine.
Well, that's one of the things I like. So I like to use TCP down. Even I work on it, so. Last real quick is I'll just show you ESXi. So I'm logged into my ESXi server at home. I basically, this connection is natted through my firewall. And here's the server, here's the console, just like I was showing. So, alright, that's it. Anybody got any questions, anything they want to see before I shut this thing down?
Anything we want to see?
You want to see? Do you want to see anything on the... What happened to your network?
I don't want to see a picture.
Okay. Maybe later.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, I'll be outside afterwards.